podcast that's kind of like Mythbusters, except instead of myths, we watch movies. Instead of busting them, we just talk shit about them for the most part. My name's Avery.
I'm Ash. We got a special guest this week. Pissing off all of our incel listeners, we brought Chad.
Hey, Chad.
Hello.
Chad's a good friend of mine from over at work. Chad, tell us about yourself a little bit. What kind of movies do you like and stuff?
Oh, I like all kinds of movies. I've been watching a lot of horror movies lately. It's me
Excellent.
And me and the lady get along with those. I like old crappy action movies. Been going through Die Hard for Christmas. Yes. What else? I've been talking about Heat a lot because I watched it the other day.
I've actually never seen Heat.
It's the last scene is the most rounds of ammunition ever fired on a movie set.
That's awesome.
That's such a good tidbit.
Yeah,
what a weird thing.
Val Kilmer goes through a lot of bullets in that movie. It's really tight.
Val Kilmer is such a funny like action star.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
He's been like in so many like odd action movies like that. Well, that's excellent. So normally we start this episode or any episode really by talking about stuff we've seen recently. I'm guessing Heat's your thing. I'm trying to think of stuff I watched recently. We were talking about Ant-Man earlier. I finally got around to seeing that after like 4 years or whatever.
Yeah, well, you'll finally finish all of the Marvel movies a year after Infinity War. When the next one comes out, you'll finally be done.
Probably. I'll get close. I still haven't even seen Civil War.
Yeah, I did show you the airport
like
fight scene, though, which is basically all you need to see.
And it's excellent.
Yeah, it's fun.
I've seen like clips of when like Captain America and Iron Man actually fight, and that stuff's good too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love Thor, and I've really enjoyed all the Avenger movies, but I feel like Marvel and DC are both just reaching now.
No.
You think?
No.
You think?
I do.
Nah.
I think Marvel's ramping up. I think DC is like panicking.
Yeah, they're crap. They're
think.
like, oh god, we got to make a funny one. Let's make fucking Shazam. Let's get that one.
I actually think Shazam looks good. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's
I
not.
See that.
It's not Shaq though. So what? I mean, come on. How good can it be?
That's right. Wait, it was Shaquille O'Neal was in.
He's in Shazam. He's a
Kazam.
genie.
Yeah,
It's Kazam.
He's a genie.
It's
Or
definitely.
is that Kazam?
Basically the same thing.
Okay. That's my bad. Shazam. What else? Shazam is that app too. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah, that's the music.
It'd be
one.
really
Check.
funny if
Alright.
they have all this like hype for it, and then it turns out it's just an hour and 40 minutes of a guy like Shazamming songs on screen. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know that was Beethoven. All right, this is pretty cool."
Like really obvious songs, just like guys, have you ever heard of Led Zeppelin?
Have you heard of the Sandstorm song?
Sandstorm. Yeah, it's perfect.
It's called Pretty Woman. Huh. Who would have thought?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so Shazam, I'm kind of interested. We're both going to see Aquaman as well.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
gonna
wait.
review that.
We're going to talk about our movies for the month at the end of the episode.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I shouldn't drop too many spoilers here. But Ash, have you seen anything good recently?
Yeah, I just finished The Haunting of Hill House finally. Really good show.
I've heard good things.
The entire
enjoyed it.
sixth episode is like one shot, which is incredible. Just unreal.
Excellent.
I love the way they play with the PTSD of like living in a haunted house. It's really fun. Been rewatching The IT Crowd, an old British sitcom. Does not handle gay people or transgender people very well. That didn't age at all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's. Wait, when did it come out?
Like early 2000s, although it looks like it came out in the 1980s because British TV. They have this one episode.
British TV looks old.
It does.
I know what it is. I know what you mean.
But they had this one episode where like basically this woman's like coming out as transgender to this other character, and she said, "I used to be a man," and then like later after they've developed this whole relationship, he makes the joke, "I don't care that you're from Iran," and she's like, "Wait, what?"
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good. And then anything else I've seen? I watched Blade. I didn't like it as much as I
Blade.
remembered.
That's a movie made for like teenage boys. You know, it's like all techno and lasers and like samurai swords and black trench coats
And just overt sexuality and blood. Things all teenage.
Yeah, it's everything, and all of the zombies, or not zombies, the vampires explode into cartoons.
Yeah.
Into cheap, bad looking CGI.
Have you not seen? There's a Workaholics episode where they watch Blade and then proceed to all go buy trench coats, and they throw in and like rent a Miata. Just like, they get really obsessed with Wesley Snipes.
That's just fun, man.
So I feel like that is about right for Blade. That's like,
Yeah, those
if you like boiled Blade down in like a pan, if you like sautéed Blade, all of the stuff that would come off of it would be like just like lasers and trench coats and techno music and stuff.
Absolutely. And plus, like the workaholic guys are like 30-year-old, 12-year-olds. So
yes,
yeah,
exactly. Perfect. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So this week, we're doing 2 different episodes for you. We got Chad on for both of them, I believe, as long as we got enough time.
This poor fucking child.
This first episode that we have going for you, we watched The Man from Earth. This was an Asher choice way back when we tried to plot out our episodes for the month, and eventually diverted from that.
Not really. I mean, we just had to get Grindelwald in there, and we misjudged the amount of weeks in November.
That's true. And I was also looking at the wrong month when we plotted out the dates on the air the first time.
This is great.
Yeah.
Top tier.
Yeah, it was great. Great, awesome relaunch.
You're on the air, so there's no turning back now. Right?
Exactly. Like, it's on. I could delete it and like edit the episode and repost it.
Everyone would know.
And I don't think, all of our like 30 listeners would know. But like, no, I don't think it's like a big deal. Whatever. I mean, the episodes come when they come. Yeah. So... But yeah, so we're doing that. We're also doing later this week, we're going to release an episode of our deeper in-depth review of The Shining, which is a movie that I just saw recently for the first time. Yeah, I know.
Really?
Yeah, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I had to coerce him after watching the thing and going like, this guy really likes The Shining, right? And then he was like, what are you talking about? And then I was like, all right, you haven't seen The Shining? And here we are.
And I finally watched it. It was just on Netflix, so I was just like, what the fuck?
They just put it on there pretty recently. Ash, we'll get to it later. Have you read the book at all?
No, I don't read terrible authors who can't write.
Okay.
Ooh, I disagree. I like Stephen King.
No, he just like puts words in there.
Yeah, he's the total coked up manic guy.
It's okay to be wrong. No, he was better when he was a coked up manic guy. I know that because I've been reading the Dark Tower series, and they get the first 2 or 3 are amazing. Yeah, and then they get like
a little kind of They make more sense, which I think is less fun. Like the last 3 are all really cohesive because he wrote them all at once after he got like hit by a van or something.
Yeah, it was after the plot of the movie Misery.
Right,
pretty much happened. Yeah, well, except the crazy Kathy Bates lady. But
yeah, I mean that's how he met Kathy Bates. She hit him. It was not a lot of people know that.
What a story! Fun fact. Yeah, so I guess we can leap right into The Man from Earth, unless you guys have anything else you want to say up front.
Stephen King writes too many words, and saying you don't use adjectives or adverbs or whatever doesn't make you a good writer. Makes you pretentious. Yeah, we'd all write really long books if we lived in Maine, that boring ass state. Why don't you go outside, you fuck? It's beautiful there. All right.
Yeah. Now we can, okay. Cool. Anyway,
now we can talk about the movie.
So we're gonna start. I guess we could just go around. Ash, you already knew what your expectations were going into this movie because you were the one who recommended it.
I expected you to hate it. Does that count?
I'm not going to say you were wrong. I didn't hate it. But my expectations going in, it sounds like a great concept. Frankly, it is a great concept. But I'll talk about that once we get to the pros. But like I was a little weary at first. You said I wasn't going to like it, which wasn't a good way of setting it up for me. I got to be honest.
I'm here to, make everyone feel comfortable. That's really my job here.
And once I finally clicked on the YouTube video, because by the way, I watched this on YouTube.
So did I.
With the Spanish subtitles.
The Spanish subtitles.
I was like, just right off the bat, I was like, this is low production, this is low budget. But I have things to say about that too. But yeah. So those were my expectations. What were you thinking, Chad?
I just read the basic overview and then watched it. I liked the concept. It made me think of one of my favorite books called Stranger in a Strange Land, which is all about this.
That's Robert A. Heinlein, isn't it?
Heinlein, and it was like a really, really influential book for its time for culture and for a lot of sci-fi writers like Philip K. Dick.
Yeah.
A lot of guys like that. So I was kind of thinking of that. Obviously, it's really different from that. But it was good. I didn't know what to expect. I just read that and I was like, oh, that's a cool concept. But yeah, the production was pretty like, not low budget. It looked like a TV show. I've been watching The X-Files a ton recently, and it looked like an episode of The X-Files.
Yeah,
It kind of reminded me
Well,
of
actually, this guy was the guy who wrote this film, Jerome Bixby. He was actually a writer for both Star Trek and The Twilight Zone.
That explains that Star Trek reference at the very end.
Yeah.
The guy's like, I'm going to go home and watch Star Trek.
To get some sanity.
Yeah. Yikes. Just beat yourself off there. What's his name? Philip Jerome?
Jerome Bixby. He's dead, you
Jerome
fuck.
Bixby.
Oh.
Yeah. How you feel
Rest
now?
in peace. Too soon. Oh my goodness.
He died
Yeah.
20 years ago. All right? So chill out.
Maybe it's not too soon. That's like within the realm.
Let's make fun of him. He has a shitty corsage in his IMDb picture. Let's go.
Yikes. So Ash, what were you thinking going in? I don't know when the last time you watched this movie was, but I'm curious to hear what your expectations were this time around.
I first watched this movie my first year at college, and my roommate was like, yo, this is a great movie. It's like kind of weird because it all takes place in like one room, but it's one of my favorite movies here. And he gave me like a flash drive with it on it, and I'm like, okay, is this a home film?
Everybody gets these movies through sketchy means. It's either a YouTube link with Spanish subtitles, or it comes on your roommate's flash drive at 3 a.m.
And I watched it, and I really loved it. And so I was excited to watch it again. I was wondering if I'd still enjoy it without that kind of college pretentiousness that I had, like everyone does. And I felt things. That's all I'll elaborate on for the moment. Those were my expectations.
Okay. That sounds good. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. So we all come from different points of view. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I felt like a little rushed watching this. I was like watching it on my phone at first because I was trying to get my internet set up today. Like, I was like literally working on getting my internet set up until you got here. Like, I'm like not even kidding. I just like got it all set up. I'm currently Ethernet wired in.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's frightening. But so I got that all set up, and I was watching that while I was doing that. But then I got it all good and finished the movie on the big screen. But yeah, interesting. Do you guys I guess we could start off. If you guys don't have anything else to say, we could start doing some pros.
Okay.
Ash, you're passionate about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think you might be able to help me see some different angles here. What are some of your favorite parts of this movie?
I love the idea of utilizing a soft science fiction backing without any of the fluff. It doesn't take place in a different location, different time. It takes place now. And it's almost like, it reminds me of discussing ideas of how to write science fiction with people. I feel like it's really effective. So this movie is centered around this character, John Oldman, who's leaving his university and brings a bunch of, fellow professors and kind of reveals to them that he believes that he's 14,000 years old. And I love how this was more effective, having all these people argue about every piece of evidence that he gave, more effective than watching him live 14,000 years and what that looked like, in my opinion. Yeah. And that's why I thought, that's why this film's so good. And just every little thing and being able to kind of turn history on its head. Just some of the philosophical arguments. One of my favorite moments is like a woman asks him where he was a certain day, a certain year. And he's like, what'd you eat for breakfast last year at this, on this day? And just kind of dealing with humanity, but from like a completely different perspective. And just bringing in all these different professors who worked with specific ideas and having them all try and refute him. And then realizing that, in the case of good speculation, you can't refute it. So, which I found was, that's what makes it interesting, is every turn someone's bringing up a great argument, but it's not an argument that you can prove or disprove. And I think that keeps it really engaging and interesting. And I love that they made basically a play for a movie.
It seemed that way. It seemed like, you know, it reminded me a little bit of, you've probably seen The Hateful Eight, how it all takes place in one room and it's all dialogue driven. There aren't very many like actions going on until maybe later in the movie, and then it kind of picks up a little bit more. But that's more of a mystery film, obviously, and this is more of like a straight like screenplay. Like people are almost just reading there.
Well, here, fun fact, that format comes from, I can't remember the name of the play, but it's really famous. You guys
12 Angry Men?
In high school too. Yeah, 12 Angry Men, where there's the jurors and the
Interesting. I don't think I've ever read that one.
There's jurors. There's just jurors deliberating. It all takes place in this one room, and it's just them deliberating over a verdict.
That's pretty cool, where the dialogue is like really like the action centerpiece of the film. Yeah. That's something that I typically don't like.
Yeah, I mean, like they did do that with like the big like crazy reveal about John Oldman. Like that kind of is where everything comes to a head and people start freaking out. And in a sense, it is the climax, even though nothing has changed.
Right. Okay. Yeah, sure. I definitely liked the concept a lot. I thought the idea is fun to play around with. It's almost wistful in a way. Like imagine like you're living in this day and age, but you've been the same age for 14,000 years, and you can remember vaguely, like you do, and remember things from your childhood, things that happened and people that you were and people that you interacted with from 10,000 years ago. And it all probably comes to him in fleeting moments of like, oh yeah, I did do that. Or like, oh yeah, I did know somebody like that. And I think that that's a lot of fun to play around with. I really liked, I did like that it was dialogue driven, even though that's something that I typically don't and get a lot of enjoyment out of. Mostly in like, often I'm thinking of like the Star Wars prequels, when it was like two characters that would walk side by side and nothing would happen. They would just speak to each other and nothing would get accomplished. I don't like that, but I thought the fact that this was like set up the way it was, and it was almost like a roundtable discussion, I thought that was a lot more interesting to listen to and watch. This is a movie, weirdly enough, that you could just listen to and you don't need to actually watch. It's almost like it's a podcast, which I thought was kind of amusing. But yeah, I definitely liked the concept. I thought towards the end things started to get a little hokey with the Jesus stuff, but I want to save that for the cons.
Okay.
Later. But yeah, Chad, got anything to put in there? What'd you like?
I definitely agree with it getting hokey at the end, but on the reverse side of that, I actually liked that they played with that concept, because that's a concept that I've seen and read about a lot, and I do think is interesting. And that they kind of played on, where it's like all religions are explaining the same phenomena in their own way, more or less.
I like that a lot too.
Yeah, I thought that they handled it really well. Like all things considered, he didn't go like, I'm Jesus, I'm freaking God. He like tried to justify it from like, yeah, people just weren't ready for these ideas, and if you look at the history of all that, it makes sense.
And people interpret it in their own way.
Well, and I love that he does the whole, like, they slapped that title on me, because one of my favorite plays, or favorite musicals, is Jesus Christ Superstar. And that's, like, the whole concept of that. It's just, like, he's like, oh, well, if you say so. And then it becomes this whole political thing. And it's just this, like, weird circumstantial clusterfuck that it, like, all turned out this way. And so they kind of play on that, which I like. And then I also liked... I like the actor that played John.
I liked him too. I think he was very everyman, but he was very good at delivering his lines.
Well, and that's what I noticed is like it's almost all dialogue. Homeboy has to just talk for about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that is hard to do and make interesting. Like the only other movie I can think of that does that well is Collateral, which like an hour and a half of is Jamie Foxx and Tom Cruise in a cab. Yeah. But I thought this guy did really well, like delivering all those lines. And I also liked that they had each character was kind of like a different way that they were shocked. Like you had the one dude who was like, I guess anthropologist, like familiar with all the prehistoric like human incarnations, and him thinking that he's from whichever period that they were talking about. And then you had the religious lady whose mind was blown by all the religious stuff, and you had
there was a biologist.
There was a biologist in the mix as well who he was talking to, and then you also had like the lady who was like telling him to get the the Van Gogh appraised. That was obviously a gift from him that had never seen the light of day.
And then even on top of that, you had like the young girl who was like the curious student who just asked innocent questions. Yeah. I definitely think that setup was excellent.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Having all those characters like angles that being able to ask questions that really flesh out this guy's life, because they're all, experts in their field or whatever it is.
And then it made more sense that they like started to actually believe him, because obviously nobody ever really would, but when you have him talking about these crazy specific things that pertain to biology, and the biologist is like, yeah, that checks out, and same with the anthropologist and so on.
Having that to back it up definitely was really kind of cool. And being able to, all the characters check each other. Sorry.
No, I liked how at first they were going, oh, is this for a book that you're trying to write? And that's I thought that was a really good way to introduce it. And then just
he runs with it.
Yeah, and then they try and slowly it kind of all slowly unravels that he actually thinks this, and they're going, okay, this is pretty. And he tries to back out, and he's like, oh, I'm messing with you. I thought that was all done really well, and they all leave thinking, And then there's the one scene where the guy tries to shoot him. That was pretty crazy.
Oh yeah, that did happen.
Yeah.
Did he really pull out a gun?
Yeah,
I think I was looking at my computer screen or something.
That was.
That's a little what?
And then it turned out to be his kid.
And he had a heart attack and died. Spoilers.
Yeah, and then it gets really sad because he's like, how many of your loved ones have you had to watch die? And I'm like, oh yeah. And it's hokey, but.
Well, I like the way they did that too, and I like what you were saying at the end, Avery, because I've been watching True Blood recently, and they play on that a ton because you have these 1,000-year-old vampires and they're remembering stuff. But I like how human it is. I love the scene where they ask him if he has any artifacts, and he was like, in 1,000 years, say this happened to you, and would you remember this thing? And they're like, oh no. And he's
probably not. Exactly. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I do like that. Yeah. Oh my God, he did pull a gun on him at that one point. Huh.
Yeah.
What not? Wow, that's crazy. And then he leaves or something. He pulls a gun on him, and then that character, I forget what his name was.
Yeah.
It was Will or something.
He was the psychiatrist who they're this guy's having a breakdown. Can you
Yes, that's what it was.
Well, it was the older guy, and that's when he tries to back out, I feel like he sees everyone's cognitive dissonance just getting so intense that they're about to freak out, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just kidding."
Yeah, because they're all thinking it got too heavy. It was when the one woman was telling him that it's blasphemous that he's claiming to be Jesus Christ, basically, and she was just on the verge of tears, this is impossible. You can't say these things, John. I love you. You're my friend.
But they did that well.
Yeah, I think that's a very for a devout Christian person to be told not only am I Jesus, but also I was just trying to bring Buddhism to the West and you guys fucked it up. Get a deeply that religious person. Yeah, it could hurt. But it was the line when he brought out the gun. He was like, "If I shot you, you're immortal. Would you survive?" He's like, "I never said I was immortal. I'm just old. I can die. But then you can wonder for the rest of your incarcerated life, what exactly you killed." And I thought that was super powerful. I thought a lot of the dialogue itself became super powerful.
That was definitely excellent. The fact that he was just old and lucky to not have died.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because I thought he was an alien the entire time.
I was almost ready for that too.
That's where my head was. I was like, he's been gathering intelligence.
He's gonna get beamed up
at the end. 100% thought he was an alien until that line.
Yeah, that's definitely pretty excellent. He just was a human the whole time. That's just seen everything. Yeah, I like all that. Okay, I knew this was going to happen, Ash. We were going to talk about this. You were going to have great pros, and you were going to change my mind about this movie because I am starting to like it more.
Yeah, I mean, I just knew immediately, as soon as they brought up Jesus, Avery's going to check the fuck out and just be like, no, this movie doesn't exist. Fuck this. But I'm like, hang on. I should read the text message you sent me. It was, let's see here. Oh God, he's Jesus.
So I guess that's a good way to transition into the cons. I have technical cons that I want to get into because I'm that nitpicking asshole who likes to talk about camera angles and shit. But the biggest con that I have is that not only has this man been around for 14,000 years, but also he's goddamn Jesus Christ. And I was watching this with my girlfriend, and we were like just chilling out and like watching it and enjoying it. And then I saw it start to happen when the characters were asking him like, "So did you know any biblical figures? Were you a biblical figure?" And I was like, "Oh my God, he's gonna be Jesus." And then like a line later, he was like, "Well, not exactly Jesus, but I was, the person who has been construed as Jesus." I was like, "No, man, come on." Like, of all the things, like, of course it went in that direction. Like, of course he was Jesus on top of everything. And that was like the hokiest turning point. And Asher, you're right, I kind of did check out.
Yeah. After that, you were like done. You're like, you didn't even notice that he almost got shot.
No, I absorbed the rest of the movie. I was like, oh my God, like, of course he has to be Jesus on top of all of this. Like, well, so that was definitely like, see, it would be kind of cool if he was just like some 14,000-year-old guy who wasn't Jesus, but had a lot of experiences and like saw things from here and there. Well, but he knew the Buddha.
It's tough because it's a pro and a con. Like, I said that I like that they played on that concept because I like grew up here in friggin' Texas and I went to like a Baptist high school. Ooh. So like the whole cognitive dissonance thing that happens, like that is real. People freak the fuck out when they think for a second that this thing that they thought for 20 years or however long could be wrong. So I like that, but then at the same time, you don't go full retard.
Yeah.
And they went full retard.
They went full Jesus.
They went full retard. Like, it's like, okay, no, he wasn't Genghis Khan. He was fucking Jesus.
Like, Jesus goddamn Christ, dude.
But like, okay, the reason why I don't hate it is just because I like the way that they integrated like all the Buddhist monk stuff. Like the idea, okay, Jesus stayed dead in the cave for a while. And he's like, yeah, I learned how to meditate and lower my pulse down to almost nothing. Almost undetectable, which is something that monks can do. And
right. Had you heard that concept before, though?
What? That Jesus...
The concept that, like, Jesus was, like, somebody who came teaching Buddhist philosophy.
I think
or
I've
even
heard
that him and
before.
Buddha were the same person, some people think.
Well,
is that a concept you had ever heard before?
It's something I discovered from this movie, and I'm like, that actually does make, like, a lot of sense. And then I looked into it, and I realized that was, like, a prevailing theory. I mean, that's not really accurate because at the same time, a lot of what we get at the Jesus parable is just repurposed Mithraism, which is a pagan god that they believed in, the Byzantine Empire, and Emperor Constantinople was like, no, we got to like put a healthy, spice of Mithra in here. But for me, like that was a revelation, and maybe it's because I was 20 or whatever, but yeah, for me it was like,
It's still big. Yeah, I think that's cool. I like the idea that even though he was Jesus, like I like that even he was just like, look, honestly, I just came here trying to help people live better lives based on what I learned from the Buddha, and it all got totally misconstrued, and now I'm a messiah, right, and this and that. I thought that was good, rather than him just like, it would have been so ridiculous if he just like,
and I've come to check on you, my children, like
he had scars on his hands. I would have been like, no, man, no, come on.
Yeah,
but
they didn't go full Jesus. That's what I'm trying to argue. They went like 70% Jesus.
Yeah.
Tops.
That's fair.
Yeah. So that's like the biggest like flaw I really had, and now that I'm talking about it, it does still work with the story pretty decently. So it's like, all right, like yeah, it's just I wasn't expecting the whole Jesus thing going into it, so that caught me a little off guard.
Kind of. Maybe it's because I had heard those theories before, and to your point, Ash, when I first heard that theory, I was 19, reading like an Aldous Huxley thing that talks about like all religions are explaining the same phenomena. And then I've been watching Jesus Christ Superstar since I was like a kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those came out in the 60s. So for me, I didn't check out there, but I was just like, okay, I know what the next 20 minutes are going to be.
Yeah.
Because he says that stuff. And I'm like, okay, he's going to say something about like, I was like, I know it's going to have something to do with Buddhist monks and he's teaching Buddhism. Like all that kind of already happened just because I'd heard that idea before. Yeah. So I didn't completely check out, but that was definitely like, I don't know. It was kind of a con for me because I was just like, okay, here we go with this shit again.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I mean, that's a lot of watching a movie is experiential. Where you're at in life when you see it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
I might rewatch this movie in 5 years and love it.
And totally come to a different conclusion about it.
But really, I mean, that was the only big con for me. Besides, didn't think the acting was great, but I'm really nitpicky when it comes to acting.
Yeah, I mean, but like you have to think
did all right.
The budget was $200,000, which is the equivalent of taking $20 and making a meal for a king. You know, it's like they didn't pay any actors to do this movie, and because of that, it's kind of The Room-esque in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Similar level of quality.
Definitely. Although there's one guy who I do love who got famous after. I can't remember his name, but the black actor is in it.
Oh yeah.
He did look familiar.
He's in a ton of stuff.
Yeah, Tony Todd.
Tony Todd. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in Night of the Living Dead, The Crow. Yeah. He did voices on the TV show for The Flash. He's been on Riverdale. He's done.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
So he has.
He was the pastor in Little Evil.
He was probably the strongest actor in the entire movie.
He was in Little Evil, Avery.
In the lead.
Yeah.
No, he's not.
He was the pastor in the church.
In Little Evil?
In Little Evil, baby. It's all coming together, motherfuckers.
But that was our second episode we did after our relaunch, was we watched this Netflix movie, Little Evil.
But here's my deal. I like him, but still, he is far and away the best actor in that movie. And
I thought so too.
He's like a 7 at best.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still like definitely stronger than, especially compared to some of the others. Like, I don't know, John himself was pretty decent. He like held it together at the very least. Like, he was convincing.
He was all right. It was just like,
he had the same tone throughout.
Everyone was so static, man. That's the I don't know.
There was the biologist who was making jokes the whole time.
Oh yeah, John, played by John Billingsley.
Billingsley.
Yeah,
he's in stuff.
Yeah, he's in stuff. He was in an episode of Twin Peaks. He played Dr. Ben.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's been in some stuff.
Everyone was really static though.
Yeah, I mean, he was in True Blood. There you go, Chad. There's your connection.
Damn, hell yeah. Everybody's in everything. That's how it goes. But yeah, cool.
But
yeah, that's really the biggest con I have.
Yeah, I mean, this is a cult classic. It's not, this didn't make a lot of money. It was written by a dying science fiction actor the year of his death. It's not like, it's just kind of.
What did this get a theatrical release, or was this like? What was
so
this?
It was first screened at a Comic-Con in 2007, and then premiered theatrically in Hemet, California, and Pittman, New Jersey. And then was immediately released to DVD on November 13th.
So they threw darts at a board, and they were like, "Where can we be released? California and New Jersey."
It won Best Screenplay and Best Feature at the Rhode Island Film Festival. But no, it's not.
There you go. That's cool.
It's not like a crazy thing. IGN gave it an 8 out of 10. What other? It's mostly like fantasy film festivals. Screenplay. It won the Saturn Award that year, which is the big sci-fi award show.
Yep. Yeah. Saturn's huge.
For best DVD release, because it didn't really have a theatrical release.
Because it was on DVD. Hey. Yeah, cool. Yeah. I mean, like, as far as the production goes, that's the only other thing that I can really knock.
Yeah.
The acting wasn't like, it was fine. I think it was serviceable, the acting was. But, like, I did notice, like, the very uninspired camera angles. There's not really much that you can do when your entire movie takes place in one room, though.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, that makes sense. There was, like, one really goofy angle when John was, like, looking at a window, and his face took up, like, a third of the screen, and then everybody else was sitting around, like, the fireplace, and it just looked like something out of a Lifetime movie. And I was like, this is goofy.
It is goofy.
So, yeah, that was the impression that I got.
There was some soap opera-y.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But you guys made me appreciate that when you were saying, like, the fact that a sci-fi movie could have, like, there are no, like, special effects, as it were.
And it is a sci-fi movie.
It is.
And there's no special effects.
And that does make it timeless in a regard to.
And honestly, though, like, how hokey would it have been? It would have been 10 times worse if they tried to, like,
show
flashbacks.
If there were flashbacks, it would have been unwatchable.
Yeah, that would have been really bad. So I'm like, oh god, and the Jesus flashbacks. That's what it was.
Just him with like bad hair extensions.
He's wearing a wig. Oh no.
He's just wearing fucking Woody Harrelson's Venom wig where he's fucking Sideshow Bob, but Jesus. It's okay.
Well, first he has to have a bald cap on to be a monk.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's going full Tobias.
Dots painted on his head.
Oh no, it's
Tobias with the hair plugs.
And or Chang in Community when he's playing Jeff Winger playing the dean. So he's wearing the hair over his bald cap, bald cap, and it's just so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that would have been pretty bad. And like for a movie with like this low budget, the special effects, just I was like ready for that one CGI effect where he gets beamed up, like because he's an alien. I was
waiting for it, and I was still even thinking at the end after the cop and the ambulance pull up, like I was just waiting for the X-Files like flash of light.
Yeah, right.
And then it's just the chick standing there by herself.
What was that?
And there's like dry ice coming up from their floor.
I can't remember.
But that's
it would have been terrible.
That's pretty awesome because like, you know, you got that it was sci-fi without having to go through like the overt. But like, you guys are fans of actual sci-fi, not just like fucking, you know, Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, you recognize sci-fi.
Science fantasy. That's the difference.
Yeah.
This is science fiction.
Yeah.
I also like I was ready when the old man had the heart attack and was like about to die. I was ready for him to like touch the old man, and the old man comes back to life. Can you imagine how shitty that would have been?
No. He already had specified that it was all Eastern medicine.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was taken care of.
But like it could have taken a hard left, and it could have just been like, wait, let me see him. And the ambulance guys are like, "There's nothing you can do. He's dying." And he comes up and
someone
he's just
call
like,
the coroner.
"Let me see him. This is my son."
And everyone's like, "This man looks like Wilfred Brimley."
He does look like Wilfred Brimley. I was thinking that the whole time.
Blood of my blood.
Just zaps him back to life. He goes, "Diabetes."
Zaps him back to life. He's just like, "My diabetes is cured."
All Eastern medicine, my child.
He has robes on. He gets beamed up in a bad special effect.
Just like they pan away from him and pan back, and suddenly he's wearing that Jesus wig.
The movie just ends with the symbol of a glowing cross.
Jesus
has returned.
Brought to you by the Church of Latter-day Saints.
Oh my god! Right?
Produced by Joel Osteen.
Can you imagine? That would have been so bad. I was like ready for that shit, man. Especially when I heard like the Jesus thing, I was like, "This is a Jesus movie, dude."
Do you really think me, the Jewish kid, was going to be like, "Let's watch this Jesus movie, bro"?
That's what Sid was saying too when we were watching. Sid's my girlfriend. We were talking about it, and she was just like, "Why did Asher recommend this? He's Jewish."
Well, because he wasn't the son of God. He said that.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, that's true.
It kind of is a Jewish movie in that way.
Yeah.
Think about it. He liked the Jews. Did I ever tell you the story of how I ended up in possession of a Jews for Jesus vinyl?
A what?
Okay, so check it out.
What does that even mean?
It's a Messianic Judaism, aka not Judaism, because Jesus is involved. I used to, in my college apartment, I hung up all of my death metal records on the wall, except for I had one that I was still waiting to get in the mail, because it's college and you don't have any art for your walls. Yeah. And
it wasn't Modest Yahoo.
So your art is like empty liquor bottles and like vinyl records.
It's just a bottle of Smirnoff covered in Christmas lights. But I came home one day
filled with glow in the dark liquid.
A bottle of Manischewitz covered in Christmas lights.
I used it to make a brisket. Okay.
Or a Fernet. Oh my god.
I came home one day and the spot in the middle was full with a songs by Jews for Jesus album in the middle, and I immediately knew it was my other Jewish roommate.
Oh my god.
His last name was Applebaum. Like, it couldn't have been more Jewish. And I just knocked on his door. And it was like, dude, what? And then I ended up re-gifting it to my uncle who used to date a Jew for Jesus. And he didn't know I knew.
Oh, well, now he does.
Now he does.
Oh, awesome. Well, that's the end, I guess, of our con section there. I really don't have anything else to complain about. It was really just the Jesus left turn and then like the low production.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus left turn and acting was
not enough to like It's about where I expected it to be for this low.
But that's why it felt so much like a stage play for me, you know? Is because, like, stage play acting is not good because they can't do multiple takes, which this felt like they never did a second take of anything.
And also, like, there wasn't really a chance for anybody really to, like, physically act. It was a lot of just sitting and saying lines.
And drinking.
Probably... Yeah, and drinking.
And drinking Johnny Walker Green.
Johnny Walker Green. Is that even a thing? I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
It's green. I didn't even know they made green.
Blended all malt scotch, 15 years old, my friend.
Wow.
How much does a bottle cost?
Not that much. They say that. He's like, nothing's too good for my friends. Like, I have split that with my roommate's boyfriend recently. It's like a $50 bottle at Specs. At Specs. At like your local store, probably like $75.
Oh my God.
But still, not.
Maybe it was Canada.
Not too much.
It's good. You should try it.
Was it Canadian? This movie's not Canadian, is it?
No, but if it was Canada, the bottle of alcohol would have been $350.
Yeah,
probably.
Damn right,
yeah.
dude.
Yeah, I guess it's like an import, or do they just have like?
They have really high liquor tax, and you can only buy in Ontario. You can only buy at the Liquor Control Board of Ontario or the LCBO stores. Yeah. You can't get it at a grocery store. Yeah,
and it's all imported because it's Scotch.
Yeah. So. And that sounds like Pennsylvania, dude. In Pennsylvania, you have to go to like a state-run liquor store.
Yeah.
They don't sell beer there. It's ridiculous, man.
That's crazy. Isn't
the state controls all the liquor sales?
New Hampshire's further north, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
in
way
Massachusetts. Because I know there you can buy liquor at 5 a.m. at a gas station.
I think that's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Well, New Hampshire state motto is "Live free or die." So
it's not
buy liquor at a gas station.
It's not a motto. It's a threat.
Die of alcohol poisoning. Yeah, it's a threat.
Hey, did that guy just tell you what to do? Get down on your knees. I'm shooting you.
So guys, I guess like we're coming to our last segment here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two things we do. We always give it a rating out of 10. We say whether or not we would recommend the movie. And then also we give it 5 words off the top of our head. 5 words that you can think of. Okay. I don't want to go first. Ash, go first.
All right. So my 5 words are going to be, hey guys, I'm Jesus now.
Damn it, you took mine.
I absolutely recommend this movie. It's an hour and 20 minutes. You'll be fine. Watch it. This movie's a 9.5 for me.
9.5.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's big. All right. Okay. I guess I'll go next. I don't have 5 words yet, so I'm going to do my rating and recommendation first. Yeah, so I don't know. I when I first watched it, I definitely like kind of checked out at the Jesus thing and probably was being more harsh and critical than I needed to be. But now that I've talked about it and kind of like unpackaged a lot of the details, as often happens on this podcast when I talk to Ash about movies I don't like, now that it's unwrapped a little bit, I'm going to give this movie at least a 5 out of 10. I think the acting probably held it back a little bit. The concept is the only thing that kept it going for me. But just because it's interesting enough to hearing what this guy has to say. And I'm going to say, I'm not going to recommend this. I'm going to be totally honest. I don't think I would say to someone, go and watch this movie unless they're like really into specific types of science fiction.
Or if they're like, I need a movie I can watch on YouTube with Spanish subtitles, please.
Exactly.
And I can derp on my phone the whole time and not miss anything.
Exactly. And you could just listen to it because it's basically a podcast. That is its thing. That would be the only time I would recommend it, personally. My 5 words are going to be, this movie takes Jesus left turn. Bam.
Left turn's one word.
That's hyphenated.
Yeah, left turn, hyphenated.
I'm going to give it... I'll give it a 6.5.
Okay.
Attaboy.
Okay.
Out of 10. Maybe leaning 7. After Ash, you definitely made me like it more after talking to you. I'm with Avery on that.
Yeah, he does it. I don't know how he does that.
But and I would say, as recommendation wise, it depends on who I'm recommending it to. I can think of people in my head right now who would like it. Like, I think my mom would probably really dig this movie. Which is it's a compliment.
Yeah, the highest compliment.
So
okay,
it actually, no, she would really dig it. And some other friends, but then there's people I know who would hate it, and I would never tell them to watch it.
Yeah.
And then 5 words.
It's tough.
Should have been a stage play.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
It's also
That'd be
accurate.
a great stage play.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm into that.
Avery, do you want to get started in our lineup for the month of December?
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of stuff coming up for you. Obviously, we have The Shining coming up for you this week. That's going to be another solid episode. My movie's so excellent. So excited to talk about it.
In literally a couple minutes.
Yes, exactly. So we got The Shining coming up. That's going to be great. We also got a couple other things coming up.
Yes.
I think we have a random space. We're going to talk about a TV show. Ash, what TV show were we going to talk about? Didn't we get over?
We are going to watch the first 2 episodes of Daredevil, and we're going to talk about those. And we're ending our month with a fun double feature. Avery, what's our double feature for the month of December?
So we're watching 2 films towards the end of the month. Our double feature is going to be Into the Spider-Verse and Aquaman, a Marvel and a DC film. Both Ash and I are fans of Marvel. We're Marvel fanboys. We're going to tell you that, honestly.
And I hate DC.
We wouldn't even hide it. I think Aquaman looks so ridiculous. So absolutely ridiculous. I cannot wait to trash that movie unless it's good.
If it's good, I will be honestly surprised. But it probably won't be.
Chad is rolling his eyes so hard. He's like, it's not going to be good.
What, you mean Jason Momoa isn't believable as Aquaman or as any acting person who can speak English? He was only good as Khal Drogo, who only spoke Dothraki? Shut your whore mouth, Chad.
I think they want Aquaman to be like Thor.
I'm a whore for acting, and that's really big for me, and I think that's why a lot of these new superhero movies, I'm just like, oh
yeah, there's a lot of really cheese,
because that's what I'm a snob about.
You didn't like Josh Brolin as Thanos? I thought he did a great job.
I thought that was great.
I did too, and I like Josh Brolin too. So.
Yeah, he's great.
Josh Brolin's had a great couple of years.
Yeah, he had a Josh Brolin-assance, and then now we're going into the Jude Law-assance is the next year.
He was Dumbledore.
I don't know.
And now he's going to be Marvel. He's going to be.
I think he's already peaked. Sorry, Jude Law.
His Jude Law-assance already happened.
Yeah, I think we only have 2 more movies in the Jude Law-assance. So,
and then his peak, he's going downhill after that. But the Brolin-assance is definitely going strong. I'm definitely into it. I'm really excited to see Avengers Endgame. It has an official title now. Avengers 4 is now Avengers Endgame. And that is the most depressing trailer. Holy crap.
Yeah. I'm really excited for Captain Marvel because I know the story, and apparently no one on the internet does.
I don't know anything about Captain Marvel, so I'm pretty excited to see
She's like Winter Soldier, but space.
Yeah.
And can destroy a planet. She's like the Death Star in Winter Soldier.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
That's right. I forgot when the Death Star was in Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Hey, quick postulation. When is the Star Wars Marvel universe crossover going to happen?
Disney owns them both. They've had Marvel comics of Star Wars stories.
Yeah.
I'd love to see.
It's an inevitability that is going to happen, I think.
Thor versus Darth Maul. Let's go.
I think in 6 years, when they run out of ideas,
they got
it's going to happen.
300 or 400
as
characters.
Middle Earth remains untarnished, I'll be all right.
They're not going to touch Middle Earth. Not after the Hobbit movies. I think they're going to lay that to rest for another 40 years, and then they're going to remake them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, those Hobbit movies were bad.
They should have canceled after the second one.
Bloated. They were just over budgeted.
Dude, there's an animated one from the 60s.
Oh, I've seen it. It's so drugged.
It's
adorable.
So good.
It's like basically marijuana. The movie. Smoke weed and watch that movie. It's great.
But I love that.
Yeah.
That's
so. I don't think we have anything else to bring forward.
Yeah. So follow us on Instagram at For the Story Podcast. Our theme song written by Spencer Lynn of the Idiots Discuss the Idiots Discuss the World podcast.
Idiots Discuss the Universe, I think it's called.
Okay, right? I'm a bad friend. Let's ignore that.
IDTU. I think we're gonna have some involvement with them in the near future.
Yeah,
maybe talking to them about some stuff and maybe doing a little bit of a collab. I would like to get that going. Would be good people to network with. But unless you guys have anything else, we'll be seeing you on Friday You're gonna hear
I just would like to point out that just as we said the name of the podcast Instagram title or handle, Chad followed us on Instagram. I see you, dude.
I did. You're right there.
I saw him do it, and I was just like, "Oh man, I was just gonna get a notification."
Hashtag notification squad. Okay, we love you guys. We'll see you later this week.
Hey, thank you so much, guys, and we'll talk to you on Friday. We love you.
Bye.